Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
Great. I should look at the camera, not you, because that's the thing that's actually recording us.
Yeah, but his camera's up there.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, God. Not again.
You know what? I've got 10 of those.
Oh, here we go.
Hello, Internet. I'm Firebolt.
And I'm the Orbiter.
And today we have a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, and I am Peet, ronics.
Patronics. So this is an extra special episode for our 30th edition. And it is called Podcasts.
Very meta.
We have a guest, obviously,
Yay.
as we've said. And what we're going to do is we're going to just give recommendations for podcasts that we've...
Yeah, as well as talking about how we got into podcasting, and if I remember correctly, Pate wanted to get into podcasting.
This is the famous Pate, who I've been calling
Or did
Pete.
you? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe notorious in Huntley and surroundings, but
he does an extremely good pantomime dame.
Oh, I see.
yes, yeah. And this is a true story. Is when I first did that? This is being the dame and the pantomime. My partner came to watch me, and she said, I'm not going to watch you anymore because you're too convincing."
Yeah, have you still got the gold boots?
No, they are in the dungeon. Yeah.
What kind of dungeon?
Oh yeah, okay. Golden Boots dungeon. Oh, this can take a completely different turn. This podcast is, but
let's not talk about.
I'm going to interrupt because there's an announcement we're going to be making, a special announcement towards the end of the episode. We're going to save it for the climax.
Why are you always talking innuendos?
I would like to commence in celebration of the announcement we'll be making later on by asking, gentlemen, what are you drinking?
Okay, I'm drinking Kronenbourg 1664, and
so am I.
Oh, and I'm drinking a beer from my hometown. It's called a Zundert, and that is a Trappist beer.
Are they not monks? Trappists, yep.
Yes, yep.
Where is your hometown?
That is in Zundert in the Netherlands. That is southwest of the Netherlands. Zundert is most famously for the birthplace of Vincent van Gogh. And also we've got the world's biggest flower parade every year.
Oh, right.
And for a good number of years there is an abbey there. And since 2012, the monks there are brewing their own beer. And because they are official monks, they can call it a Trappist.
And no doubt drinking lots of it as well.
Yes. So I had my
monk.
So I had my parents over from the Netherlands. My dad always brings a few of those bottles over for me. Yes. So I'm going to say cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Okay.
So
should we just get on with it?
Yes. Should we talk about recommended podcasts first, or no? Let's do the. How did we get into podcasting? Yeah.
Okay, so if you're saying getting into podcasting, is for me there are two sides to that. That is starting to listening to them, and then starting to creating them.
Absolutely.
Right.
So to start with the beginning is I think you're listening to podcasts a lot longer is because that is when you decide I want to produce my own podcast. So how did you get into listening to podcasts in the first place?
Who's going first?
I can. I can't remember which came first. Either it was because I started playing Euro Truck Simulator 2 quite a lot, which is basically just driving down a road where there.
I can remember the epic 100th episode of Breaking Bad.
That was painful.
4.5 hours.
I got hand cramp after that.
Yeah.
You have to just keep it in a fixed position for 4 hours.
Final Cut had fits over that one.
Yeah.
And you lost your video feed a few times.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, you started to play that.
And, well, that's obviously not the most interesting thing if you haven't got anything to do in the background. So I just started listening to, I think it would have been No Such Thing as a Fish, which is a podcast by the QI Elves, the researchers.
Which we mentioned a moment ago, did we not?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later as well.
Yeah, okay.
Or I started listening to podcasts a lot more because for some bizarre reason I decided it would be a good idea to make a country. And
I really wondered what you were going to say then.
Oh.
Run elections from that, so that was quite boring if you don't have something in the background. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I did. And I needed something to listen to in the background, so I think I started listening to Hello Internet for that.
Uh-huh.
And how did you get into podcasts?
Well, I knew that. I mean, you sometimes played them in the car. I wasn't really into them, but there was basically it was kind of a hybrid thing because I was kind of wanting to get started doing some sort of video live streaming, which I kind of combined with. I think it was just before we started, like end of 2017.
Yeah,
I said to you, do you fancy starting doing some gaming videos? Because nobody else was interested in doing any of the live streaming stuff. But I think you were quite keen on gaming and gaming video channels and stuff. You liked, what's his name? Nerdcube and that. So I thought that would be a good way of doing it. And that kind of, we added podcasting to the roster of that kind of project, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was more sort of video podcasting.
And now I think it's probably a more popular thing.
But then I started listening to Disney-based podcasts because I wanted to. We were planning on holiday in Florida last October, and I just wanted to get as much information as I could about how to go about sort of advanced booking stuff and what the best ways to do things were. So that was really it for me. Yourself?
Yep. For me, it started to catch up with programs that I didn't manage to listen to on the radio. So I started to listen to a few BBC Radio 2 podcasts. Simon Mayo always had the confessions during drive time.
They were excellent.
And yes, so he had a podcast for that. So that was something I started to look out for. And then also the the Popmaster podcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So just to see is how good or how bad my knowledge is of popular music. And then then you started podcasting and I started to listen to that. And then I suddenly realized I could use it for my work as well because there are a lot of podcasts I listen to these days that are very work related.
All right.
And I'm rubbish at reading blog posts. And the podcast for me is an easy way to digest the latest stuff that is going on in the field of my work.
Excellent.
And then I started to expand my repertoire of podcasts. I listen to things like No Such Thing as a Fish, and I leave some recommendations, other recommendations for later.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, before speaking about BBC podcasts, before we sort of said that we got into podcasts, we were listening to Infinite Monkey Cage.
Yes, I was just going to mention that because
that was one of my recommendations. But there you go. Yes.
Okay. Well, we can talk about it more.
We'll let you cover that one then.
Okay. Do we want to quickly go into a little bit more on how we got into creating podcasts?
In what sense? What do you mean?
Well, why do we do this mental thing every?
Because we're narcissists.
Thursday.
Well, I don't know. Obviously, there's lots of different kinds of podcasts, but it struck me that there was a little bit of not a gap in the market, but actually, I was aware that we very often used to sit at home having really in-depth and bizarre tangential discussions about the meaning of life and all sorts of really deep stuff, and also
Usually
being
whilst
insulted.
drunk,
Yeah,
but-
usually was drunk. And I just thought it would be really entertaining to listen to pick subjects and to.
We can hold a
Just kind of-
conversation, I guess. And
Yes, you can.
I'll take that as a compliment.
it'll be vaguely entertaining at the same time.
This is what we're told. I'm not sure if it's true, but
So yeah,
Okay, so that is the conversations you have while you're not recording, and then you thought this is okay. Why not?
we should just stick a microphone on. But then we thought we
Yeah.
can do it in better quality if we actually get some decent mics and
well,
proper equipment.
you're a geek on that sort of thing, so you're
Yeah.
practically a sound engineer, so I guess that helps in sort of making the podcast good, is that we've actually got some quite decent audio quality. Although this episode might be a bit different because it was a nightmare setup.
Oh, but I think we've got there.
Just about.
I must say, is this probably is cut out from the recording, but for the listeners out there, I think we spent a good half hour on at least half an hour on setting audio and video up. So
Yeah, but
yes.
that's quite typical of our first attempts at things, because I remember when we first started doing the gaming videos, it literally took about 2 days to get started on the first video.
It took like a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I obviously have an old person's brain. Don't
Yeah.
remember these things, but yeah. But now you get, once you've done it once, you get presets done and you're ready to go the next time. But we've worked out the best way to have a Skype guest on now, which is a start for us.
Yep, so we can have you on again at some point if you decide that this is an utter madness, or
at first I need to listen back to the actual end result and then
we could
I will
have
make up my mind.
other guests if they so wish. I think we've got a Patreon tier, which means that you can pay to come on, but
Yeah.
you get on for free
We
because
prostitute ourselves.
you know us.
And you are our most loyal follower.
Oh well,
I don't know.
I don't know. This is okay. Yeah, I that was one of the things. Have you got a sort of a solid listener base, or
We've got
One
probably-
of my friends set up an official fan base channel
wow?
where they reviewed some merch that they bought.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have a handful of dedicated followers, don't we? We have. I've done a shout out for this person before. We have no idea who they are. Lepostral. Hello once more. If you fancy coming on Breaking Bollocks, whoever you are,
They might
Give
be
us a
French. That might be a
I
bit of a
highly
barrier.
recommend it.
we will mess with your mind. But anyway,
Yeah.
so shall we
And
get
we
on?
have various friends of mine that find it entertaining, vaguely listening to us.
Yes, and the thing is, and also what I didn't mention is because getting more into listening to podcasts is my commute during the week, twice a week. I've got a 2.5 hour car journey, and yes, and then rather than listening to the same songs over and over again,
Yeah.
and
I like listening to podcasts in the car, but for some reason I had this image in my head of you with your headphones on a train. I don't know why, but
okay. I've done that as well. This is in my previous job, and I was still working in the Granite City. I took the train and I did listen more to music. And another thing is highly recommend listening to audiobooks.
yes, yeah.
And
find-
then if you're a cheapskate as I am, is not going for the Audible option, but there is an organization called LibriVox, and they record books that are in the public domain.
Right. Okay.
They are read out by volunteers.
Well,
so if you're
The other thing,
Yeah.
I know you can get digital, Kindle sort of format books and audio books from the library service if you have a library card.
there you go,
Aberdeenshire Libraries. I don't know if every library does it, but yeah. Obviously, it's not everything, but it's quite a lot you can get for free. on that.
But the nice thing is about the books that are in the public domain is that are when the best classics were written. And that is how I got into Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, all the Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, they're excellent.
Yeah.
Read by volunteers, all the Jules Verne books.
I think I tried
Alexander-
reading the Sherlock Holmes things when I was like 11 and just totally flew over my head then, so I might give it another try.
We're tangenting.
We are, but that's what we always do.
Oh, okay. And if you combine that then is with the earlier episodes of Sherlock, where Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are Holmes and Watson, there are so many good references to the Sherlock Holmes books. But that
Oh,
was
right.
like, yes, yeah.
Ah, that's interesting.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you have any? Our newer podcast, which
Oh, yes.
we just recorded episode 5 of
Bollocks
before recording this.
Yeah, so what's the thing with that one?
Right.
Because
Well,
it
what
doesn't
happened?
end up on my feed.
Let me explain. We changed our podcast host on a reliable recommendation from an established podcasting source, which I will mention later, from Libsyn, which is a paid platform, to Anchor, which is free to host on. Anchor's really good, but Libsyn, whoever you're hosting with, tends to be sort of responsible for distributing to the different platforms, and in other words, they send out your RSS feed. And for some reason, the Apple one didn't go out from Anchor. I'd assumed that it would. The Breaking Bollocks one's still there because I imported our old Apple, but I can't remember how it worked out. I think I might have originally applied to Apple myself directly through the iTunes Connect
All right.
interface.
So are you?
So it's been submitted now.
So are you pushing those out as 2 different podcast streams?
Yeah, they're on 2 different feeds. So I'll let you know when it goes live on Apple, because I think Overcast uses Apple, doesn't it?
Yes, I've used the Apple Podcast, the default app, for such a long time.
Yeah.
But since I've got now more than 40 podcasts that I'm subscribed
Right.
to, and Overcast is just better for organizing it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So, I mean, it should be there very
Yeah.
soon, and we'll let you know as soon
We've
as it
also
is.
found with Spotify that it's right up here now, actually. We've got the first 26 episodes of Breaking Bollocks on there.
Have you not found our other feed on there now?
Well, it's just that that's what you're subscribed to, I think. And we've got another one that has the other one, so we can't actually delete that, which is annoying. But
In other words, if you had the Spotify feed and our episodes have started disappearing, you probably won't be hearing this anyway. So there's, but see, there's 2 feeds here. That one is, that's the up-to-date one, so I'll follow that.
Cool.
Right, that's got all 29 episodes on, and soon to have 30.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we get onto recommendations?
I suppose so.
Oh, but were we not talking about how to? So you talked about how you got into creating podcasts, and that is something, an idea is that I've been playing with for some time now as well. And I was thinking, you said you try to fill, not fill a void, but what you 2 are doing is not your typical type of podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That it is.
Yeah, well, it's that sort of father-son thing. But the other thing was, I don't know, I'm being told from various sources that we've got a fairly unique relationship in terms of father-son. I mean, I treat you guys, my kids, basically
Guys,
as...
you need to be careful with using guys these days.
Yeah, but I'm not differentiating. I use guys with my women's choir that I conduct. I call them guys as well.
Yeah.
But
People might
Some
They call
people
me all
just
sorts of
choose
things.
to get offended, I think.
But you're quite right, yeah. Yeah, I just treat them, I
I
mean,
don't care. I'm Dutch.
I just treat them as sort of people, you know.
Yes, but I think the people who said that is that you've got a special relationship. I think, that's true.
Which is weird because it's actually deepened quite considerably since we started doing all of this. all the channel stuff, because obviously we spent a lot of time working together on that. Before that, we didn't used to spend a lot of time doing stuff together at all, did we?
We did spend time doing it. It was just usually like on a weekend, late night sort of thing.
Oh yeah, getting pissed.
Yeah. But I don't think that's the most healthy relationship. So, I mean, we're drinking now.
Says he taking a swig. That's a celebratory drink.
Anyway, you getting into podcasting. Was it?
Yeah, that's okay. I haven't taken the big step yet. But my brother and I when we were in our teens, when we started secondary school, on a Friday night, my brother took the tape deck out, and we recorded silly things just for ourselves on tape.
Right. As you do.
And that, yes, yep. And if you listen, my brother still got all the original recordings, so it's quite funny. No, but I was thinking is because I don't see him that often, and I don't speak to him that often. But whenever I see him now, we've always got so much stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
and I thought
what I found quite surprising as well, though, is that kind of format of people just sitting having a chat is surprisingly entertaining to listen to. It's like where you think that it would be like, who's going to listen to this? We're just talking.
Whenever I listen, if I egotistically listen back to the podcast, more particularly videos, I just find that I just get absolutely infuriated with you. Like
I interrupt like I just did.
I want to reach into the screen and just like be violent, but in the actual recording, I don't. That's weird.
Oh, I've got that as well. With a few of your podcasts, if you're talking bollocks, I was behind my steering wheel like, no, giving feedback to you guys, but not.
Well, now you can actually join in.
Yes, finally.
Well,
yep. So yes, that is one of the things. My brother seems to be up for it. But I still yet need to take the first step, actually doing that. And we're not doing it, and I don't think I will be doing it. To become rich and famous because of it. This is just have an extra, another bond with my brother.
Yeah, part of the motive for us getting into podcasting, I think, is because you wanted money, but you
didn't. It wasn't.
Part of it was.
Well, no, not really.
Yeah, one of the things that I would recommend with that is just don't be too perfectionist, because with our first video, the actual first recording we did was the one that ended up as our first video, but we had a few weeks of recording extra things again and again to try and get them right, and spending hours editing it.
It actually sounds a lot less natural then as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's perfectly natural to have a pause for thought in a conversation, whereas I was kind of cutting all those out to make it speed up the pace. But, people can do that. You can listen at 1.5 speed if you want to anyway on some apps. So
yeah,
it would take a while to sort of settle into things and feel like you're not just being silly talking to yourself.
He seems like a natural, though.
Yeah.
Do you have an itchy head?
Yeah? Just giving it an extra polish.
You can see our reflections here.
Well, this is most entertaining to the podcast audience.
Yeah, well, they could.
Yeah, that is one of the things. Yes, I know. Is that you're putting this out as a YouTube clip? But I always only go for the audio version.
Right. Is that all right? Us referring to visual parts more?
I don't mind. Who's talking innuendos now?
You have such a dirty mind.
Yeah, that's right.
And I thought I was a teenager.
No, that sometimes can be a bit difficult. But if you're keeping that in mind while you're recording your podcast is that there are people not watching the videos, is then I think it should be okay.
Yeah.
We have
I
a
noticed
running joke because of that, because I say, dear listeners, every time that I remember that it's mainly a podcast.
That was actually stolen, though, from a podcast that I listened to.
Yeah, but not the whispering part, not the...
That's true.
You just suggested, because a podcast that you
ASMR.
listened to used it, and I thought it sounded... Oh, God. Please stop. I thought it sounded very creepy saying, dear listeners, so I just started doing it that way.
Don't you like it?
Oh, God.
Oh, yes.
Fuck's sake.
I didn't think this was going to turn into that kind of call.
Do you want me to leave the room?
No, you have to stay.
Oh, he will be traumatized for the rest of his life.
With any luck. It might not be that long, though.
Peet's gone no red.
He blushes all over his head. Right. So, should we get on to a few recommendations, do you think, Seamus?
Yeah, maybe.
Yep.
I don't think we need to spend a huge amount of time on each kind of thing, on each whatever we're talking about.
We can see. But
Okay, just for yeah. So just to keep this bit of the show a bit clearer is what I specifically didn't do or I left those out is the podcasts that are compilations of radio shows. As I said, this is how I got into podcasts. This is the things that are just a copy from what has been broadcasted before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is just a catch-up. That is just a glorified catch-up service.
Mm-hmm.
right.
So I don't necessarily classify that as being a podcast thing.
That's entirely appropriate, I think.
Cool.
So original podcast material.
Yes.
Who's going to go
Yeah.
first? You went first last time, so why don't you go first again?
Okay. So my first podcast that I'm going to recommend is, as we've already mentioned, No Such Thing as a Fish.
Oh, yes.
Yay!
Which is by the people that research for the TV show QI. And the format is there's 4 presenters, and each of them present their favourite fact of the week. And then they all go off and research that and have a conversation about that.
And we went to see a live recording, didn't we? As we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, last week. Not last week, actually. Last week from... No, 2 weeks ago from this podcast. The Tivoli Theatre.
3 days ago as we record. Yeah.
Yes.
Two weeks. Yeah.
That was way... That was way overcooked.
Just to look at that's quite an amazing thing is people that are starting to do podcasts and then say, hey, we can take this format a step further and doing a tour.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
sold out. It looked sold out, the Tivoli Theatre.
It was sold out. I saw.
I think that was one of the first shows that sold out. That's what they said on one of the podcasts. Yes, that Aberdeen was sold out. Yes.
Yeah, it was really entertaining. It was good.
Yeah. I don't think we've got quite enough of an audience to go on tour quite yet, but we'll see. Maybe next year.
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go around various pubs just yelling at people. Listen to us.
I'm going to yield to our guest and say, why don't you go next?
Okay, that's fine. Yes, I've got a sweet spot for anything science-y related, or how they try to advertise it these days as STEM-related subjects. Science, technology. What does the E stands for again? Come
Engineering, I think.
Engineering and math, yes, STEM. So anything in that range I'm a sucker for that. I like to listen to that. This is not that I understand everything of it. But one of the things that I started to listen to is a podcast called Ologies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, I've heard of this as well.
By Ailey Ward and every week she interviews another ologist. That can be a zoologist or ecologist, anybody with a job title ending in ologist.
Oh no!
Interviews.
Yeah.
This links into one of my other recommendations. It was an idea one of them had for a podcast, but I guess someone already made it about ologies. So no, I haven't actually heard of that, but it sounds quite interesting.
Yes, it's interesting, and the way she does that is quite funny as well as is with little audio breaks in between. Yes, I don't know. This is what I find fascinating about it. This is but just to listen.
Have they had a musicologist on yet?
Probably I was quite
Working through them.
late to the game. This is one of the ones that I haven't started to back listen to. But yes, no, I can't even remember the name but one of the recent episodes was somebody who studied tortoises.
Studied tortoises?
Tortoises, yes.
And what's the name for tortoisology?
Yeah, that is what I can't. That is what I can't remember.
I can look it up. We've got a laptop in front of us.
Yes. Okay. Look it up. I'm going to give a shot at looking it up as well as this. But yes, no, that is highly entertaining to listen to. Yep.
And it is?
This is herpetology. That's the study of
that makes me wonder whether
study of amphibians. Actually,
has herpes got anything to do with amphibians?
What the?
Well, it's herpetology.
I mean, you'd have to go into the
Greek stem. Herpeton means reptile or creeping animal.
Herpetology. Okay, that's what I come up with this as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but yep. Anyway. So yes, good.
Okay.
About you?
Your turn for.
Well, I'm actually gonna merge two different podcasts into one because they come from the same team, and it was the ones that I first started listening to when I was researching information for going to Florida, and that is Diz After Dark and Universal After Dark, which is basically Diz After Dark started as I think it was 2012 maybe. I went back and listened to all the back episodes to try and get as much information as I could. They started it off as basically a two-man team who did it as though they were like having a chat down the pub, and they actually had sound in the background of like people drinking and clinking and having general conversation and stuff.
Yes.
And just basically
there is a work-related podcast that I'm listening to as well. It's called Testing in the Pub.
Yeah,
and there are two software testers.
That whole pub chat thing seems to be quite a popular thing. And the virtual pub they discussed things in was called the Mouse's Head, presumably to do with Mickey Mouse. The original two-man team, one of them is still part of the wider team that now exists. The original one is said to have disappeared to the toilet at some time during, I think, 2013, 2014, and they're still waiting for him to come back. I think he popped back into the pub for a Christmas episode, but then disappeared off to the toilet again. So I listened to the first 3 or 4 years of that while I was researching for Florida.
That's a lot to listen to.
I missed out a year, I think, because I didn't quite get up to date with it before we went. But the spin-off of that is Universal After Dark, and that's run by they're a growing team, and they have some very entertaining stuff going on over there. But I mean, the sound quality was a bit shit to start with. But it didn't matter. It was the entertainment value.
You very much care about that as an audio engineer. You would notice very subtle things.
But I think that's something that's well worth a mention, is that despite the fact that their sound was shit for so long, I still made the effort to listen to it because it was so entertaining. And that's a big thing coming from me.
Right.
I found it entertaining enough to tolerate that. Good going, guys. So...
is it my turn now?
I believe so.
Back to you, Firebolt.
Okay, so my next recommendation, which vaguely links into your first recommendation, is Hello Internet, which is where our introduction actually comes from. Me saying Hello Internet at the start. which we debated for a long time whilst actually getting into
Did we?
do what our intro would be. Because
Oh, yeah,
I think
yeah.
we did like a sort of, when we first tried it, we did a sort of synchronized, hello internet, we are Breaking Dad.
Shall we do a simulation of that?
Oh, we can try it.
Okay, we tried this.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, internet. We are. What? How did it go? It kind of went.
See,
Kind of
it
went
fell
that
apart
successfully.
immediately, which is why I just went,
We
hello
abandoned
internet,
it.
I am Fireball. I think that just came from me getting fed up.
And
with
he'll never let
trying.
me go first now.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
think
but it would be wrong if you go first. You've
It
got a
ruins the
format.
format.
You've got a format now.
Jesus.
Come on.
See, now it's with 3 of us here, it's 2 against 1. You can gang up on each other.
exactly.
Oh, I can easily swap sides if you want.
That's what she said.
I haven't done anything wrong yet. Fuck's sake. I didn't even register that because I'm just so fed up with you.
Sorry, where were we?
My next
Talking
podcast,
hello internet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
which is 2 interesting people from YouTube. First of all, I can never remember which way this goes round. I think it's CPG Grey, who does sort of animation videos explaining things in a sort of short, interesting way that gets very to the point. So he's done things on voting systems and automated traffic, and also curing aging. So loads of different things to do with just explaining how things work, and I find that quite interesting because, like you, I'm quite a sciencey person.
Well, I started to listen to that one because you've mentioned it a few times, yes.
All right.
And they are, they are just chatting away for a good hour
Yeah, they
every
don't
episode.
ever. The other guy is Brady Harron, who
Yeah.
runs a number of sort of sciencey related channels.
Yes, I think that Brady that is another recommendation that I've got. This is the Number File podcast.
Oh, did Numberphile do a podcast as well?
Yes. Okay. I know that they are a YouTube channel, but they do some of their episodes in podcast format as well, I
Right.
think.
I'll have a look at that.
Yes. So one of the guys that they had on is the guy. Oh, I can't remember his name. But have you ever heard of the Van Klein bottle? That is a glass bottle that is a representation of a mathematical thing. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Google it. A Van Klein bottle.
I can
You're-
look it up as well.
You're a maths geek. You should have heard of this.
Well, I haven't watched every single one of them.
Speaking of which, just digressing slightly, have you read Alex's Adventures in Numberland
No.
and Alex Through the Looking Glass? It's math.
It is a Klein bottle, not a Van Klein bottle, a Klein. Klein bottle.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I've seen the thumbnail for it on YouTube, but I haven't actually watched the video on it.
Okay, so that was Alice in Numberland.
Alex's Adventures in Numberland. I'm trying to remember the name. I think is it Alex Bellos? Is that his name?
I don't know. I haven't read it.
Anyway, Alex's Adventures in Numberland and Alex Through the Looking Glass. He's basically a mathematician, but he does a lot of stuff. It's a bit like a sort of publicly accessible, fascinating stuff about numbers and maths and stuff like that. And it sounds boring, but it's not. It's really interesting.
Yeah, there's loads of interesting stuff in maths beyond the classroom, I think.
Yes.
Where there's loads of interesting coincidences about how mathematicians think and why things are how they are, rather than just saying this is
I
this.
don't know the guy's name but Vsauce has got a YouTube channel.
Yes, Michael, I think is.
Yes, I don't know if he does do podcasts, but he's in the same league, I think. Trying to explain mathematical.
Well, this guy's first book starts talking about stuff like this tribe that he went to see who don't have any words for, or don't have any concept of numbers above 2 or something.
Yes, it's just many.
Yeah, Yeah, once you
Yes.
get past it, yeah. And the other thing is, like, they're talking about the original kind of invention of the concept of zero and how things were before that, and how the church kind of frowned on it as a kind of devil's concept and all this kind of thing. Anyway,
Yeah, there's something to do with how the Hebrew for that, I think, links in, actually Hebrew for 666, which is, I think, explained in a number file video. It links into people not liking Nero.
Who's Nero?
Emperor
Is he the one
Nero.
that fiddled while Rome burned?
Well, he was a Roman emperor and most famous for burning Rome, I think.
Ah. Where were we and whose turn was it next?
It's my
it's
turn.
your turn now.
I was
No,
still
it's-
explaining.
It's the Orbiter's turn.
Is it? I was
Yeah,
explaining
because-
Hello Internet, I think.
And then I had number file.
Oh, right. So did that link on? Okay. So
Okay,
He
I took
hijacked you.
I took the
Oh, I see.
opportunity. Sorry.
I'm going to go for... I mean, I'm just going to slip in Pop After Dark, which was one of the other incarnations from the After Dark network, Days After Dark and Universal After Dark. But that's not my next recommendation. My next recommendation is The Customer is Always Weird, which is a gang... well, I think it's 3...
quite like this one.
very immature and extremely suspect humoured young gentlemen in their 20s. But basically the concept of it is they take a product or a movie or just something that's suggested to them by somebody else or an idea they've had, and they read out reviews of it from the internet.
Which are always entertaining because the internet
Usually the bad ones.
Yep, good.
The first episode, I believe, was gummy bears that had a replacement for the sugar that actually acted as a laxative. So there were loads of really bizarre reviews about that, where various people had eaten them and sort of said, "Turn back now," or done it as a prank.
Yeah, that's an ongoing joke through the series as well. They're constantly referring to the gummy bears, but be aware that they are very immature and also
Just like us.
Oh well.
there's some very questionable adult humour in there. I'd question their mental health as much as my own.
Okay, so my next recommendation, since Hello Internet was hijacked, dear listeners won't be able to see, but Pete just Pete just did the na thing.
I can do a raspberry.
What?
Did that
Who at?
me?
Oh right, okay.
I accused him of hijacking.
Oh, the
Hello
thumbing your
Internet.
nose thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my next recommendation is going to be. What was it again? Yeah,
don't
off
know.
menu with
Oh, that's good. That one.
yes. It's got
Which one is that?
It's got comedians James A. Caster and Ed Gamble on it. And basically the format of that is that they get a celebrity guest each week and get them to explain basically their dream meal. Where they say, "Oh, here's my favourite drink, here's my favourite main," all that jazz, and have a conversation about that and food in general with that person.
So what is
Yes.
that called?
Off menu.
Off menu
Yes.
with Ed Gamble and James Ackers. Okay, yep, good.
He's actually
Subs-
for the podcast listeners, Pate is actually adding these to his.
Long, ever-growing list of things to listen to. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
So what is so special about that one?
Well, them being comedians, it's quite funny.
James Acaster is funny. He plays a waiter,
Yes.
doesn't he?
Yeah, he plays a genie waiter because the idea is that he's able to magic any food that the guest would want.
Oh, just one thing I would mention about that though is there is a feature, isn't there, that they have a mystery ingredient.
Oh,
Did
yes.
you mention this before?
I didn't.
No. Would you like to?
Sure. Each week they also have a mystery ingredient that if the guest mentions, they get a row.
I thought they actually threw them off. Did
they weren't meant to, but in the first episode, even though they were like, this will never actually happen, I think it was pomegranate seeds. The first guest, Scroobius Pip, which isn't his real name. It's a rapper, I think. Actually said about putting pomegranate seeds in pizza dough that they invented whilst they worked at Pizza Hut.
Right. So they would have had to chuck their first guest off the show.
Yeah, which wouldn't have been a very good first episode, I don't think.
Funny. Cool. That ties in nicely with one of my next recommendations as well. That is what I start to see as well, is that a lot of famous people do their podcasts, and one of the recommendations I have is George Ezra and Friends.
Oh yeah,
he's a musician, isn't he?
He's a musician, and what he does is he's interviewing fellow musicians. And what I like about that is that he interviews their guests like musician to musician.
Right.
So, and that is quite liberating for the interviewees, because normally they get interviewed by journalists or DJs or TV hosts
who just don't understand them.
Yes, and he can have a conversation with his guests. One of the guests he had on is Elton John, Tom Jones. What is that other famous ginger one?
Sharon?
Yes, that one. Yes. Lily Allen is this, but they can have quite another one, the funky guitarist from Chic, Nile Rodgers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes. He can have frank conversations with them about what it is be like to be a musician.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just cut the crap as is try to promote stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is what and he's got a nice voice, George Ezra, as well. So
I guess you sort of have to for singing.
Yes, but he's got a quite distinct voice.
All right. Okay.
But anyway, so yes, yeah, and okay, sorry, Orbiter.
This is quite all right.
In famous persons is David Tennant. David Tennant started to do a podcast in the same vein as he's interviewing fellow actors. And he recently interviewed Sir Ian, who played Gandalf.
McKellen, yeah.
McKellen, yes, yep. Yes, that's worth listening to, yep.
Cool. My next one is going to be, there's a theme developing here for people who might be in the know, but this will be revealed later on. My next one is going to be a podcast called My Bench, which is a gentleman called Craig Lucas, who's extremely Liverpudlian.
The brother of George?
No, I don't believe he is. Unless George Lucas was a Scouser.
I don't think he was.
No. Can you imagine that? Star Wars in Scouse.
Oh god.
It'd be like
no, I am your father.
That was crap. But no,
I can't
I'm just thinking like that scene with Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader on the Death Star. There'd be Luke Skywalker going, hey, come on, calm down. Sorry, Craig. Anyway, yeah, basically it's the
use the Force, Luke.
What is wrong with you? Yeah, there's map coordinates on the show notes for this one, where this guy's a train driver who works for Virgin Trains and does the journey from Liverpool to London quite regularly, and he has a list of, I think, 5 questions, which are quite deep philosophical questions, such as along the lines of, do you believe in God? And what's your favourite turd and stuff like that. I don't know.
It's not a very deep question. I mean, unless you're going in a different way.
Yeah, well, you know, just some interesting questions. And basically, he'll sit on the bench and ask. Well, it's not been going very long, but the idea is that he'll sit on the bench and ask a stranger if they would mind being on a podcast and being asked these questions. And then if they say yes, then he'll interview them as the podcast sort of thing. I think for the first few, there have been sort of volunteers that kind of know of the podcast and know him from different areas. It's very much in the early stages, this one, but I found it very entertaining.
Cool. That's quite a different
I think it takes a bit
format.
I think it takes a bit of takes balls though, don't you think, to actually sit on a bench and
I mean, having conversations with strangers is difficult enough, but
unless you're a scouser,
having the balls
they'll just talk to you because they're scared shitless. They're going to get knifed.
To record a podcast about this.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm going off screen because I need to replenish myself.
I've never heard it called that before.
What?
Shall we talk about him while he's gone? Initiate him into the ranks of breaking.
Look at that shiny bald head.
It's so shiny. Zundert.
Yep.
Welcome back.
There we go.
Firebolt was slagging you off while you were off screen.
Oh well, I will hear it back in the recording in the final.
You never think of that when you slag me off, because sometimes when I'm recording, I forget that I have bodily needs. So sometimes before I start recording, go off to the toilet, even though the recording's actually started properly. And then the Orbiter comes up and slags me off.
Oh, that looks nice. How strong is that beer that you're pouring there? Zundert, is that what it's called?
This is the Zundert 8, and that is 8%.
Jesus on a stick.
I mean, you drink like a bottle of wine.
Yeah, but 8%, that's like Spider's Kiss, kind of.
You know what this is? That's quite normal in the Netherlands, and I'm living close. Yeah. I used to live quite close to the Belgian border, and
had you had any before we started, or is that your second bottle?
This is my.
I've heard the Dutch language described as drunk German before, so that kind of
for the
makes
podcast
sense.
listeners, he just put 3 fingers up. So that would be like you're onto about sort of 5 or 6, then normal strength.
But they've got a stronger one, the 10%.
That's getting on towards fortified wine strength, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But no, it's. Fine.
Is it nice? That's
it's very nice. Yes.
Good. I'm not sure whether or not we need do we need more recommendations, or should we move on to our special announcement? Okay, I might need a piss soon though.
Okay, well that's because you're drinking.
It probably is, yeah.
But you can hold it in for long.
I can hold it in, yeah.
Anyway,
that would be a podcast.
My next recommendation is from the previously mentioned, I think, Nerd Cubed.
And you got a podcast?
Well, he used to.
Oh.
With his sort of, I think, technically COO of his company, Matophobia, along with another smaller YouTuber called Many a True Nerd, and they just had quite good chemistry, I think. So Nerdcube's quite enthusiastic about the whole thing, usually, unless he's dying. Quite shouty, generally.
He is a shouty man.
Yes.
He used to distort on the mic no end when he first started.
All right.
That used to annoy me. He used to clip like fuck.
Whereas John, who is Many a True Nerd, is a posh fucker.
Is that his gamer tag? Or?
Many a True Nerd's his gamer tag, I think.
Oh, not posh fucker.
No.
Okay.
That's what you call him.
he brings the class to the conversation and can actually hold a conversation. And Matt brings the more sarcasm to it, and it's just they're complaining about everything.
I'm just gonna drop a teaser in, just based on what was just said, because as we know, there's a special announcement coming at the end for any new listeners that we may have, which there probably are some. We should perhaps explain why you're called Firebolt and I'm called the Orbiter,
I suppose.
and Peet is
Yep.
Patronics in kind.
Can I just finish my
Yes.
explanation of this?
Sorry.
Okay, the actual
Do carry on.
podcast is called The Podcats.
Oh, I've heard that one.
Because there was a typo where they got that the wrong way around, and they thought that would be a good name for a podcast. Although I found that there's actually a lot of podcasts called the Podcats,
So you need to pick the right one then if you search
it's
for it.
specifically the NerdCube Podcats, I believe.
Cool.
But generally, I think they were talking about gaming news, although sadly it has been discontinued because quite often they just seem to agree on things. I think that was the reason. Anyhow, yes, so the reason...
Firebolt is called Firebolt.
Yes.
Also.
Well, there's a broomstick in Harry Potter, and as a nerd, I just chose that, and I think that's the fastest one.
Yeah, but why not just use your own name? There's a reason.
Okay, well,
For the podcasting audience.
I used to use it as a password for a lot of things, just because it was just sort of, oh, that's the fastest broom, and I was quite a Harry Potter nerd, and still am. So I just decided to use that because that just seemed to be a sort of name that sort of...
There's a reason you're
Rolls.
skipping over here.
I don't know what.
They are our gamer tags.
It wasn't for me.
Oh, well, it was for me. I don't like being called the Orbiter in real life. This is my gaming tag.
My actual gaming tag has a more interesting backstory to it, which is Favre Sixer.
Yeah.
Basically, I believe as a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, signing up for a PlayStation Network, because I think you have to be over a certain age for it, I thought that Sony would be less willing to check that if I put it as father, although I misspelt father. So,
As you do.
and also they needed to have a number and symbols in there somewhere, so I just put it as Favre Sixer and haven't changed it since.
And my gamer tag was the Orbiter for a couple of reasons. When I first got internet back in 2001, I thought it's not a good idea to have your real name in your email because people will then know who you are. So I chose a line from a Queen song, Don't Stop Me Now, which was, I haven't finished yet, you fucker.
Mrs. Orbiter Star Stuff, did you find you through the internet? They still haven't figured out which one's a serial killer.
Yeah. I am a satellite was my original email address. I am a satellite at whatever it was. But that changed. It shortened to satellite, and then I found that was in use so much that I ended up changing it to the Orbiter because satellites do that. And the Orbiter is the name of one of my favourite fairground rides from Rushden Fair when I was a child. So I am the Orbiter.
Yes.
Good.
And Patronics.
My one, yes, Patronics. When I started my career in IT, there was an IT consultancy company in the Netherlands called G-Tronics.
Called what?
G-Tronics.
I thought you said gay.
Yeah, not gay, not
right.
gay. You need to probably one of the reasons that
Sounds like a specialized sex robot.
Yes, no, they were the one of the founders was called G-E, not J-A. Why? No.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I thought I can do a play on that company's name using my first name and then just put ronics after it. So
there you go then.
Yes.
So we're not being pretentious, podcast listeners. We're using them as sort of for reasons. We're not just like
yeah,
sort of. It's not like
it feels a
the
bit
artist
weird,
formerly known as
having it as our real names. Although,
yeah, you can call us Theo and Paul if you want.
Yeah.
A funny story is when I first started working in the UK. I at the company in Aberdeen. I didn't get any emails for a couple of days. And I was wondering.
I think I've heard this story. Carry on.
I'm not getting any emails. So why am I not getting any emails? So I reported the ticket to IT. Is why am I not getting any emails? So they looked into it. And they said, "Oh, I think because your first name is offensive, and it is filtered out by the spam filter."
Why would your
Because
first name
my first name is P-E-E, and then there is.
That's a very bizarre thing to get offended over.
Yeah, but if the spam filter is set just a bit too strict, yes.
That would be like
that would be a specialized sex robot, Peet ronics.
Oh my
God.
Well, make it happen.
You've scarred me for life.
Yeah. Somebody's patenting it as we speak.
Yes, luckily, I think, people can get offended by quite silly things. And the spam filter thought P, or my first name was. Yep. Anyway, that's a side note.
Do either of you have any more recommendations to add before I move on to special announcement time?
I wanted to throw in one last recommendation, as it was my turn. And this is in the category of YouTubers that make their dedicated podcast. This is, as I said, earlier. I'm a sucker for anything science related. This is, but another thing that I can't stop watching enough is makers on YouTube. They do woodworking, they do 3D printing stuff, whatever what they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 YouTubers, is Jimmy DiResta, Bob Claggett, and David Picciuto. And they make things out of wood and that sort of stuff. But once a week they come together to talk about what happened during the week. And what I do like about that is that it is original content.
Yeah.
It is not a copy from, we've put this on YouTube and we turn it into a podcast. But there are quite a few words of wisdom in there, which I use even, and it is a very strange bridge. I use those words of wisdom in my day-to-day work as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To try to explain things to my colleagues and that sort of stuff.
Is that called plagiarism?
That's called education.
If you're mentioning the source, then I don't think it is.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
Okay.
What do you call it when you put it at the bottom?
If we say hello internet, does that mean that we're also sourcing as quoting?
I've no idea. I actually don't care. Yeah, that's cool.
But anyway, yes. But
along those lines, it's another YouTuber, not something to do with podcasting. I just want to mention, I believe it's pronounced Vintergarten.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Is that the marble machine?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the guy that made that is also...
I would second that recommendation.
Building a...
No.
It's got a series of videos
we have another thumbs up from Peet as well. That. Everybody go look up the Wintergarten.
The guy that's building that is building a more compact version that can be sort of dismantled and looks nice. So that's
fucking awesome.
Can go on tour with it. The version of the marble machine that was in that video, which I think went a bit viral.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
It was displayed. I've seen the original marble machine because it was displayed in a museum in the Netherlands.
Oh right, okay.
It's in a music technology museum, I think.
Do they actually play it for you? Or?
No, because it was such a botched job. And Martin openly admits it. It was just a botch job. He can't get it to play anymore.
All right.
Since then, it is back. It is back to him. It's now
Yeah,
in France.
but that
it's
reminds
now in
me-
France again.
Reminds me of a novelty clock that my brother used to have that was it was like ball bearings. It was a ball bearing clock.
Oh, I know those ones. Yes.
Yeah, it had like a sort of plastic dome over it, and the time would be told by ball bearings going down tracks, and there was an arm that went round and lifted the ball bearings back up to the top, and they would drop through periodically and fill up the tracks with the numbers on them to tell you the time.
All right.
And then when it got to the end of the hour, that track would empty into...
Yes, it will spill over into the next fingers. Yes.
But they never worked because the balls all just ended up in the bottom, but they were cool. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you're talking about your balls again. Yeah.
What do you mean again? Don't tell them.
But yes, that's really good, Fireball, that you mentioned Wintergatan is because I'm looking out for when he's going on tour. When he's going on a world tour, shall we make it a thing that we go there and watch it?
Sure.
We could, actually, they probably wouldn't let us. I was going to say we could do some sound clips for a podcast, but they probably wouldn't let us.
I don't know. The guy seems...
he's got all his music on SoundCloud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The guy that seems pretty approachable. I think we could probably email him.
Well, that's true. We could interview him.
Good.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Yep.
That would be tense.
Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add before I give my
have
last?
one more.
This is what just to say is this is what I like is I never knew that you liked to watch his videos as well, Wintergatan.
Yeah. They're quite interesting because you learn all sorts of things about how someone might actually make that sort of thing using various electronics.
Yes, yeah, and all the design process and the whole project management side of things to it is yes, there are
I'm
words
a
of wisdom.
nerd for databases and spreadsheets and stuff like that, which is people find bizarre, but for some
It really
reason,
helps with episode planning, though. What? What?
Yes, it helps. It helps with my work as well. Yes.
How far ahead do we have our episode subjects planned?
July 2020.
Oh, that's only next year.
But I've been a bit procrastinating on that. I should probably update it to 2021.
Yeah, see, when I throw a spanner in the works and chuck in an extra subject matter for an episode, it doesn't help, does it?
Yeah, I just have a meltdown where just like everything.
The extra subject is this episode we're having right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I spent basically the whole afternoon figuring out how this would work into various episodes, as well as doing various admin that I procrastinated on. Because I do all the admin for the
You can blame
channel.
that on one of our new listeners.
Yeah, which we'll get to after I do my recommendation of. I forgot what it was now. Oh yeah, just Infinite Monkey Cage, as I previously said.
Yes.
That's got
Absolutely.
Brian Cox, which I'm sure you'll all know.
Can I add to
Science.
this recommendation?
Okay.
It's the same podcast, but the reason I would say I recommend it is because the radio show itself is phenomenally brilliant and entertaining, but it's just under half an hour, as are most Radio 4 shows, and the podcast is the extended edition, isn't it?
I think just listen to the
So there you
radio
go.
version.
I didn't even know that was a radio show. Is the Infinite
right.
Monkey Cage originally a radio show?
Yeah,
Yes,
on
it's Radio
BBC
4.
Radio 4, yes.
Uh-huh.
But it's in sort of half-hour format there, and you get the extended edition on podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy that does it is a comedian, Robin Ince. And they just talk about various sciencey things, having guests on from each field along with a comedian each week to talk about their interest in the subject or something that they pick, like their favourite thing about it.
It does have a very podcasty feel about it, that programme, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that is why I was surprised that it is a radio show.
Yeah. But I suppose that's what
Yeah.
podcasts were kind of born of, isn't it? And I like the democratization of that. anyone can do it now.
I believe we have
Yes.
talked before about
Yep.
the dead strawberry thing, especially in our death episode.
Yes.
That's worth. It's a running joke throughout the series whether a strawberry is actually dead.
Yep.
It's fascinating to listen to. Although some people's eyes may glaze over when they hear Brian Cox talking, because he does start speaking a lot of sciencey terms, but you got Robin Ince there to sort of represent those sorts of people that don't really know what he's talking about, but I usually think I understand most of it. But that might just be arrogance. Anyway, okay, so...
Yes, I have prepared something to play to you, which is part recommendation, but there is a common theme for the recommendations I have been making.
This is our special announcement, right?
It is, yes. There is a common theme for the recommendations I've been making, and it kind of ties in with all the podcasts that I listen to. They're all pretty much stemmed from my sort of roots in where I first started listening to podcasts, which was the Diz After Dark podcast. They have grown from a single podcast back in 2012, as I say they started. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, After Dark people. They now have, I believe, 11 or 12, something like that, and it's growing all the time. They're a network of podcasts. And I would like to play you... I apologise, by the way, if I've missed any out. There are others in their network. Magic Kingdom of Walt... Morlando, that's another one. But they're continually adding stuff. There are some football ones and some wrestling ones as well, but I don't listen to the sport ones because I'm not a sport person, really. Okay. But and you've only got so many hours in the day. But I would like to play you a clip as our special announcement from... They currently have, because they're all Orlando freaks, they currently have a temporary podcast going, which is going to run for this year only, which is a planning podcast. They're all meeting up to go to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal in September.
Yeah, which, by the way, is fucking terrifying. You got like a special tour version of that.
Yeah, we did the VIP tour.
You tried to convince me that it'll all be fine because I never really watch horror films.
Yeah,
we went into the.
Sorry, Boston. He doesn't understand.
We went into the house that was for the film series Halloween. I think it was Halloween 4.
Yeah, Michael Myers.
And I started having a fucking mental breakdown. Like, my hands were shaking, I was crying, I had to be rushed off, and I couldn't fucking move.
He spent the rest of the night in the Simpsons restaurant.
I was traumatized.
I have to say, big props, though, to Universal, the tour guide there. I mean, this was probably primarily down to your autism, wasn't it? Like the sensory overload.
Yeah.
Which it is sensory overload even for anyone who doesn't have autism.
There were loads of flashing lights and people jumping in your face and loads of sounds. I was just freaking the fuck out.
Our tour guide for that did brilliantly. She organised us to basically walk you out of the park through backstage areas and the safe way of getting past the scare zones by indicating to the scare actors not to approach and stuff like that. So she looked after us really well. I can't remember her name. But anyway, we gave her a fairly big tip. So anyway, I'm going to play you part that they're running a temporary podcast for their planning for this event that they're all attending together in October time. I can't remember exactly when. But this is a clip from their latest episode, which I would like to play you just now.
Well, you know, this After Dark podcast network's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, there's more and more shows. We've got another show joined yesterday. The father and son one, is it? Yeah. Do you know what? It's beautiful. I'll give it a listen.
A lot of people
I went and listened to their first episode, and then they told me to listen to the disability episode and the death episode, and then I listened to their latest episode. And the disability episode is beautiful. It got me a little bit a couple of times, a little bit choked up, to be honest, but it's fucking fantastic. It's called Breaking Bollocks.
So there you go. We are now officially part of the After Dark network. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Nick. And may it continue.
Yeah.
Ooh.
For many years.
Our camera's just died.
As it always does.
We're not going to have time to replace it before we do the outro, so we'll just do audio only now.
Well, we're still on the little Skype thing up there, look.
Oh, I see.
Oh, he's getting his big proddy thing out again.
Oh, God. Not again.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Well, it's been...
So you've been picked up by the After Dark ones.
Yeah, so
Well,
this is kind of half a sort
kind
of
of begged.
promo thing for them, but the reason that
We share promotion. I'm hoping they don't think I'm
reached
some
out
kind of
to them is
stalker.
because, as recommended, he did listen to them a lot, so the reason he reached out to them is because he quite liked them and he saw that they were growing. They did. You said something about them possibly reaching out to different formats of video.
Yeah, but
right now I think it's just our podcast that's part of that. But we might become guests on that at some point. I don't know.
Cool.
He's hoping.
Cool. Nice.
We can shamelessly plug ourselves then and get more subscribers or listeners.
Yeah.
followers,
By the way,
likes.
that did kind of almost not double choke me up. Actually, hearing that earlier on, I was listening to it in the car on the way home, listening to the
proud.
HHN 29 thing, and it was like, oh, is that us? Is that us? And I was like, but to hear a listener's response to your own output is weird.
Them saying
They've said
it's
this many
fucking
times.
Beautiful. We got a random tweet. I don't know who they.
You don't know.
Someone saying, "I just wanted to say that your relationship is beautiful." And so it's a really weird thing to hear because
It's
it's just like
we abuse
you're
each
a
other,
fucking
not
wanker.
verbally, obviously.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I slap you, but that's okay because I don't bruise you.
I would like to say it has been a pleasure having you on as a guest, and
It's not been a pleasure setting it up, but
No, it won't take that long.
No,
of time.
but anyway, yeah. It was my pleasure as well. It was really nice. Yep.
I'm hoping that you can come back on sometime. We'll like liaise with you. It's usually a Sunday evening that we record, isn't it? So
yeah.
if we talk about dates and stuff, and whenever you're available, you're welcome to join us.
Yep. Anytime.
And I'll probably have to say we'll get the beers in when you do.
Yeah.
Because I think that's been a nice...
Is
ingredient.
this a French
You need
beer?
to come. You need to come with something better than Kronenberg 80, whatever it is.
1664. He usually drinks
Yeah.
Stella. I'm more of an ale man myself.
I just drink whatever.
Punk
you put in
IPA
front
is
of
nice,
me.
but I tend to drink the real ales when I'm treating myself. I'll just get the piss water for Firebolt.
Thanks. I'm coming back to the Peetronics here.
Patronics.
No, Peetronics, because
No,
the email thing.
Oh, yeah.
No, it is.
Have we finished yet?
I think so. At some point, the podcast ended.
Should we do an outro?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry to keep you up so late there down in Dunfermline.
No worries.
Just tell everyone where he lives then.
I can cut
No,
that out if you want.
I
There's
think,
quite a few people that live there.
I gave it away. I gave it away where I live anyway. It's not
There's
where
lots of
I am
people.
at the moment. That is where I am for my work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So, outro. I'm Firebolt,
I've been the Orbiter.
and
And I've been the Patronics.
this has been Breaking Bollocks, episode 30, podcasts, and a special announcement. So we're now part of that, I guess. That's cool.
Have you finished?
I think so.
Bye.
Not me.
I've got another
Okay.
beer left. We've got to carry on for another half an hour.
Bye.
Yeah. So
think that's us done.
these come in a crate of 24.
Oh shit! How many have you got left?
I think no, I'm not going to finish them tonight. But no.
Uh-oh, he's gone.
Yep.
Ends
No,
up
but
in a newspaper
that is-
the next day.
Yeah, but that is what I don't understand about Britain in general. This is all with how do you call it? You pay for the glass bottle as well. If you return the bottle to the shop, you get 15 pence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Although they're starting to get better. I had a free post envelope with an ink cartridge for sending back your old one to be recycled, and they give you you register online, and I think we get 75p for sending it back to them.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
So
which you've paid anyway.
it's getting there. It's getting there slowly.
Yep. But no, no, I'm not going to finish them all tonight.
A wise move. You working in the morning?
I think so. Yes.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah. No, I will be fine. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Next
you're
Bollocks
good.
report will have a headline about Aberdeen man goes crazy on the town and starts.
AWOL, yes.
Peet ronics starts spreading his shit everywhere or something like that.
Breaking Bollocks to blame.
I mean, that would be good publicity.
Yeah, do it.
Okay,
Go on a radio.
I will get my coat. Oh man, it's way past 11 anyway. So the pubs will be closed anyway. So yep.
Well, you got a whole crate there to work on, so.
Yes. Yep.
Anyway,
Cool.
I have school tomorrow as well, so I should probably
Yeah, and you need a shower.
and editing.
Let's finish now, shall we?
Okay.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. I'll
Yeah.
be in touch, and we'll.
Yes. Yeah. It was wonderful. It was really great to do this. Yes.
Good fun.
Good.
See if we can have you as a guest again.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.